Good evening. This is Dawn Tura. I'm President and CEO of Sourcing Industry Group. I'm so excited to welcome you to today's webinar. It's a fantastic topic, and the number of people that signed up for it, I know a lot of you probably have expertise in this area, and it's such a narrow topic that I know the conversation is going to be fantastic. But before we get into the meat of today's webinar, I just want to remind you a few things about SIG, that we have global events in North America, EMEA, and APAC. We do our weekly webinar series, such as the one you're attending today, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I hope you're taking advantage and answering our peer-to-peer resources, questions posed to our members by our members. And then, of course, we have the Resource Center, and that has over 5,000 tools, templates, documents, everything you need to actually start a sourcing process. White papers for our members, methodologies, and we try and keep them in native format. So Word, PowerPoint, Excel, so you can just download it and steal shamelessly from the best ideas out there. And the Career Network. So if you're looking for internships or you have jobs to post, it goes to about 25,000 people every single week, and we get a lot of folks that are getting hired through our Career Network, so send in your job. Student Talent Outreach. We are associated now with about 12 of the best supply chain universities in North America and over in London, so we can get the graduating seniors into your programs directly. So we post some for internships and host them at our summit. So please, if you have any questions about that, just out to us. But in the meantime, link in us, follow us on Twitter, and get on our blog, all kinds of ways that we have a lot of conversations among our members. Our global partnerships, if you're a member of SIG, you get 100% access to Brew Live, which will give you hundreds of market intelligence reports for absolutely free. You get 100% of the HFS research at no additional cost to you, and you access the Art of Procurement podcast, where we have probably well over a couple hundred interviews already that are out there for you to listen. Consumable format, you can just listen on your drive to work. All things that you get as a member of SIG. And then I know what you're going to say. We're October 15th through 18th. The answer is Rancho Mirage in Southern California. It's down by the Palm Desert area. 350 to 400 people in attendance, 1% non-sales focused. We are non-commercial. The reason that you buy from our sell-side members is because of thought leadership, because it convinced you of a value proposition, not because they're slick and they're salesy. Also, we're going to be celebrating our awards program, our first annual awards program at our fall summit. So I hope you can join us. Make sure to sign up right away. And 60% of our delegates are direct level or above. 7% of our delegates are buy side. So you're not going to find that kind of ratio at other events. And also, we try and take SIG out to you because I know you've got large teams and you can't all travel. We have our executive meet and meet, and the next one coming up is September 12th in New York, 13th in Chicago, 21st in Seattle. And our sister events are our full events, and those open to a larger crowd. CPO meet and meets and executive meet and meets, we try to keep to about 20 people. Our SIG events, though, will allow multiple people from companies to come, and so come network locally. It's a great way to build up your professional network. And SIG University, this past week, we just launched our third semester of the year. We're now enrolling for the fourth semester. You can get certified sourcing professional or a certified supplier management professional certification. And we're going to be rolling out very, very soon a risk management, third-party management certification. And I want to know that this was created by members for our members. There was nothing that was state-of-the-art. And so we address everything from the areas that we're going to discuss today, RPA, to everything that you need from the soft skills and the hard skills to make you a strong sourcing professional. So it's third-party risk management professional course will be launched this fall, and you don't want to miss it. It's going to be phenomenal. So I know we're here, and it's not to hear me talk, it's to hear Parascript, and they're such a great organization. So a couple we want to do, we want to keep it interactive. So in the lower right-hand corner where you'll see, at least for me, it's an orange-reddish Q&A, open that up, please. And if you have any questions from the use of an acronym to understanding about a slide or just a general question, type it in, and then I'll interject the questions at an appropriate time. If you have trouble listening to your computer, you can go up to the event info at the top of your screen and you can dial in and listen by telephone. So sometimes people get feedback and they have trouble with that. If you do that, then turn off your sound on your computer so you don't get feedback. The other thing, I've met our two presenters. They seem awesome. So they also seem very approachable. So if a question after today is over, please make sure to follow up. Destiny will make sure that you have their contact information, that you can follow up with them and keep the conversation going. And then, of course, they'll be at our fall summit as well. So I'd like to now introduce you to our speakers today. Mike Singh is here today. He's with Harvey Spencer Associates, and he joined them in 2012 as the Vice President of Research. With SA's focus on the capture software marketplace, Mike provides market situation analysis, competitive assessment, market forecasting for software vendors, channel partners, and sourcers. Before HSA, he was engaged in business research for Eastman Kodak Company and Johnson & Johnson. Joining us today also is Greg Council. He's the Vice President of Marketing and Product Management at Parascript. In this role, he is responsible for market vision and product strategy. He oversees all aspects of Parascript software life cycles, leading to the successful development and introduction of advanced technology to the marketplace. Greg has 20 years of experience in solution development and marketing within the information management market, including search, content management, and data capture for both on-premise solutions and SaaS. So I am so pleased to welcome Mike and Greg to the stage today. So thank you. And Mike, I'm going to hand over to you first and take it. Thank you for joining us.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I really do appreciate being here today. And thanks to Greg and Rebecca for the invitation from Parascript to present to you today. Harvey Spencer Associates has been involved in capture technology for a long time, and we're very excited about some of the advances in robotic process automation. And I believe we're going to have a poll here first. And so,
I just have to pull up. So folks, in the right side of your screen, you'll have an opportunity to answer the poll questions. We'll keep it open for about 30 seconds. There you go. Right-hand question, poll questions. So the first question of the day is, what is your organization's experience implementing RPA that involves document-based data? A, no implementation plans yet. B, implement RPA in the next 6 to 12 months. C, current testing an RPA solution. D, one or more RPA implementations running at the departmental level. And E, implementing RPA company-wide. I can't wait until E is an answer for a lot of people. And Mike, with all your research, how do you think this is going to play out when we get the poll closed?
You know, expect that we're going to be probably in the A-B range versus the D and E range. So I would think that we're in the early stages. That's.
I hope there's no A's. I hope there's A's. It's right now, so the results will pop up in just a second. So let's see. Okay. Right. Oh, no A's, and you got 50%. Look at that. 21% planning, 0 currently testing, but 17% have one or more implementations running. So that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that is good.
Okay.
That is good. Yeah. And, I mean, that shows us where we are in terms of the marketplace, and there's a lot of people here that are interested in RPA, obviously, and have yet to implement. And so that's what I would have suspected in the marketplace right now. So let's talk a little bit more about robotic process automation. There's a lot of excitement concerning this particular topic. It is coming from CIOs, IT departments, line of business managers, IT vendors, channel partners, supply chain managers, and not least the investment community. The consulting firm McKinsey predicts that automation technologies, which include RPA, will have $6.7 trillion impact on the economy by 2025. This is second to mobile internet and ahead of cloud technology, autonomous vehicles, 3D printing. And interestingly enough, though, even with all this fanfare about RPA, the market revenue for RPA vendors so far to date has been below $500,000. So in 2017, Blue Prism had a valuation on the stock market of $1.6 billion in, or excuse me, 1.6 billion British pounds, and revenues of only 25 million British pounds. Path, another major vendor in the RPA space, they raised $153 million. They have a valuation of $1.1 billion, and their estimated revenue last year was under $50 million. And so there's a lot of expectations that are being set out there for RPA, but we're still in the very early stages. And so those people that checked boxes A and B for their poll, you're not alone, and so you can take heart in that. And not all that new. I mean, origins go back to internet and screen scraping technology, but with advances in machine learning and artificial intelligence, they hold the promise for taking RPA from its simplest form of mimicking basic keystrokes and mouse movements into a process that can train itself and make automated decisions. It says, well, first level of RPA, this very basic level of RPA to advanced RPA, and this being enabled by capture technology, which is the ability to classify documents, extract data, and put those to the proper business processes. Advanced RPA will perform checks to validate that the proper process is being executed. So, here we go. Let's look at what is going on right now. And like any technology adoption, there's a lot of excitement about potential benefits, tempered by reality of what the technology can actually do today. And RPA thrives on doing the same process over and over again. Its structure, in terms of its replication of the work that knowledge workers do. It's not unlike in robotics in a manufacturing setting that I think we all have a vision of what that looks like in an assembly line, assembling cars, and these robots are assembling the cars, taking a bolt and putting it on a particular bolt, and the bolt is in a particular place, and it just does this repetitive task over and over again. And that's a very basic process. The bolt and if the stuff of the bolt moves slightly, you need some vision technology to be able to adjust and be able to insert that into that. So RPA wrote very specific, that can be done time again. But that's the way that all work processes are structured, and that's not the way that highly valued work processes are structured. Today we have unstructured work coming in, and there's some issues. We have information that's contained in pictures that are not handled very well right now. OCR, the robotic process automation companies are starting to get engaged more in OCR, and they're engaging the capture vendors to help with OCR and for handwriting recognition. We need more work in terms of unstructured documentations and being able to train the systems to learn about those and also to apply business rules. But the good is we're moving, the limitations are being addressed today, and we're moving forward in terms of more advanced RPA execution. ASA has been tracking market developments in the capture software market for over 20 years. We've seen the market grow from an image capture focus to a transaction process focus. Basic image capture, 20 years ago, if we could get a picture of a document and put it in a file somewhere, that was considered a success. But then the market and putting more and more value on transaction processing and being able to extract data from a document and put that into to a particular process. Digital transformation, along with business automation, has an appetite for data into actionable information. This information can be entered into the business process and accessed then from office and mobile settings. So with this in mind, we take a look at the market, and we view in terms of Capture 1, which is more of your image capture, Capture 2, which would include transaction processing, and then also RPA capture, which all told, if we have those different elements together by 2030, we're projecting that it'll have a worldwide market potential for vendors in this space of $30 billion, vendors and service providers in this space. And so it is moving rapidly and is being enabled by the different technologies coming together. So we, in terms of our pathway to RPA implement, taking back, robotic process automation refers to software that can be easily programmed to do basic tasks across locations just as human workers do. Two elements to that statement. A bot must be easy to develop and deploy. The second element is it needs to be able to do these tasks just as a human would. Software can be taught workflow with multiple steps and applications, such as validating receipt structured forms, send receipt information, checking a form for completeness, filing the form in a folder, updating a spreadsheet with the name of the file, the date, so on. And RPA, is designed to reduce the burden of these repetitive, simple tasks on employees. But there's more coming here in terms of document recognition and being able to integrate document verification and learning algorithms. So if we present a new document into the system, the system will be able to understand what that document is, understand the proper fields to be taken a look at for this particular business process, and extract those documents. And that is that near term, those technologies exist today, and they are being integrated right now. In the future, we're looking towards more machine-based predictions and decisions about the business process, and the business process may then make a call back requiring some additional information. So things will get more sophisticated in the future. Along these lines, if we take a look at where RPA and artificial intelligence intersects, we're at its basic stage right now in terms of standardized workflow, not really requiring any logic or reasoning involved. And as we move up here, we move into this mode of learning where there's classification and extraction being used to supplement the system with machine learning. And it's able to handle not only structured documents, but unstructured and semi-structured data workflows. And if on from there, we've seen where artificial intelligence is being used for interpretation of chatbots, voice biometrics, natural language processing, and eventually we believe that it will move into this class 3 RPA, which is reasoning, where artificial intelligence will be applied, and things that decisions that are made that need human decision making and judgment will be able to be automated utilizing artificial intelligence. It's a perspective in terms of where we believe the market is going. Let's take a look now for some particular applications that are being about in the marketplace for prime candidates for robust automation. In the banking and finance vertical market, there's different processes that they go through. Banking and finance has always been very, very document intensive industries. They've always been our largest vertical market for capture, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done in this particular area that still could use automation. There's a lot of tasks break down into onboarding, bringing new customers into the system. Then there's back office business processes such as automation of 401ks, automation of know your customer, because they're reliant on multiple sources of data coming into a particular business process and a decision being made whether to accept this application or not. And then there's also decisions and compliance and analytics that go along with this too, that are also being implemented within the banking and finance industry. There's a foreign bank that has global reach, a large foreign bank that was able to use robotic process automation to reduce new account opening time frame from 8 days to 1 day. And so they're applying RPA to improve the onboarding process for the and remaining competitive and staying competitive. Inches involved onboarding, bring new customers in into the process. There's also elements of claim processing and fraud detection, and there's also insurance industry is very reliant on analytics for understanding risks involved, and also with compliance. And so RPA is being applied to a number of different areas here, but as a new client would apply for example, property insurance, the application can be mixed with other information, and that can be done in an automated using RPA, and then move from there. In terms of claims adjusting, their claims adjusters are being supplemented on some claims that could actually just be passed through based on information about the amount of damage that was incurred, actually the photographs that were included with that, and if it's determined that the claim is valid and of low value, some threshold value, that could be automatically passed through as well too. That's examples within the insurance industry. And with healthcare, I mean, we moved to electronic medical records, and we're moving fairly rapidly towards that, but there's still a lot of systems within healthcare that are siloed. There's still a lot of work that's done in terms of adjudication and processing and payment processing, and there's some jobs here that the robots can handle, better, potentially more accurately than humans. In terms of claim processing, I think we've all had situations where claims have been you submitted a claim, or your healthcare provider submitted a claim, and it's been rejected for lack of information or not the proper number. They need some additional information in terms of the IC9 coding, and so it was rejected. It was returned. More information was needed. Some of these things could be avoided, and some of these turnaround times could be potentially improved by utilization of robotic process automation. So a lot of information on these slides, can't get through each individual here, but this would give you some ideas, some feeling. We did do a study in the manufacturing environment a few years back. 3 or 4 years back, and there were a lot of people in supply chain management and maybe some other departments that were extensively using Excel spreadsheets and doing lookups on the web and doing lookups on database and manually entering information into these Excel spreadsheets that would then be passed on. Some this work could be automated through. We felt it could be automated, and then now we know about more about robotic process automation. So we called some of the IT leaders that we had talked to before, and they're kind of in a similar situation as our polling results. That they're haven't implemented anything yet, but they are planning, they're beginning to plan to start, some small processes and implement those processes utilizing RPA technology. Action plan. Our recommendation is to start with simple processes that have a sufficient volume and have a consistent workflow. If you have processes that would maybe referred to as stare and compare work that involves manual keying, that'd be a prime candidate for an RPA robotic process automation candidate. So there's a lot of discussion about the impact. Yes.
Action came in. So
yes,
you're saying start with small, simple, repetitive processes, but the price of a bot, how many processes can a single robot do? Can it, so you admit like it can file this, it can open this, it can input. So I think the question is like, how strong is one robot? Can it do 1,000 things, or is it limited to doing 5 or 6 simple tasks?
Well, the design is a bit a building block type of design, where bot is designed to do a particular task, and then the process moves down, and then there's another bot that picks that up, and maybe so you might have a bot that's doing some sort of movement from one cell to another cell. Another bot might be able to pick that up from there and then move that over. And so there's a series of bots and in a services architecture where these are building blocks, and so there's different elements that are required there. And so when you get into the design of that, so it's not one robot doing multiple tasks. It's a series of robots that
hand off.
You need to handle the whole whatever the requirements are for that particular process.
So to start with a small, simple, repetitive process, open the file, take this data and copy it over here, and then close it. How much that robot cost to put in? $20,000 robot, or I think that some of them, because they range in price, right?
They do, and we'd really have to get into, probably a different discussion about that. So probably that's not something that we want to discuss now, but maybe we could handle, as a further follow-up with a particular individual.
I think there's a lot of interest in how basic we can get. So I think you're going to have a lot of follow-on conversations. So thank you.
Sure.
And I'll let you finish your slide. So thank you very much.
Sure. The principle, though, it's if we think about this, and I think we all do a lot of spreadsheet work, and a lot of times we're taking things and moving things from one place to another. If you have a number of different workers too, you can't always assume that everyone's doing exactly the same thing for the same even if they have instruction manuals and everything else, they may not be doing the same thing. And so I know that there's been some limitations and some hiccups in terms of RPA implementations, based on a variety of different workflows that could be, in this one particular simple process. And so some background and analytical work needs to be done about that, and pick out the process and the process that works the best for the particular scenario. So that would be something to consider as well too.
Okay.
Yeah. Once you've implemented, one robotic process automation, test, you should really start to take a look at how these robots potentially could be repurposed, and take a look at the next test. It should get easier with time. The programming and repurposing of bots will be simpler, and the workers that are engaged in this are going to be more comfortable with changes that are taking place. All the technology leaders that I've spoken to that are engaged in this, and are kind of moving to the implementation stage really has part of their plans is establishing their group as a center of excellence for RPA. So an outsourced provider, clients will look to you as a resource that you can rely on. If you're a leader of an IT department or of a line of business or a service, service provider, others in the organization will really kind of look at your group as a resource. And so that's a consistent theme when I talk to people that are technology leads that are implementing RPA. Cognitive Capture 2.0, which is a subset of artificial intelligence, is in rapid development right now to take RPA to the next level. We're in a document understanding will further expand the usefulness and also return on our investment for RPA projects. And so we're very positive about the future prospects for RPA. And with that, I will back. We go on to our next.
Yep, so poll question number 2. What percentage of documents are already part of your organization's RPA initiatives? 100%, 11 to 25, 26 to 50%, 51 to 75%, 75% or more. So based on the first answer, I'm guessing we're not even any D's or B's, are we?
I think we're going to be in the A's and B's. More A's.
But I think a year from now we come back and we're seeing it moving steadily up. Wouldn't you? Just like next, let's come back and look at this, and it's like A now. Everyone's past A now. Now we're up into C's and D's. It'd be so cool.
Yeah. And RPA vendors, I mean, their revenues, although they're small, they are, double in many cases year over year. So there is a lot of uptake in this as well, too.
Awesome. The poll is just piloting right now, and if you look in the lower right-hand corner, you will see the results pop up. And we will send the slide deck out to you. I know a lot of you are asking. It will be pushed at the end of the webinar today. It was sent with the 10-minute reminder to log in, but it sometimes download it that way, but you can download it directly to your computer at the end of today, and it will have the contact information for both of our presenters. So with that, 62%, under 10%. We have some that are 26 to 50. That's promising.
Very good.
Hand it off to Greg, who is the Vice President of Marketing and Product Management at Parascript. And thank you, Greg, once again for bringing us this webinar today. This topic is just so important. So thank you, and you've got the stage now.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. And I'm really, frankly, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but I'm really happy that there are so many participants on this webinar that really haven't started an RPA project, because I think one of the biggest problems with any kind of technology adoption is project failure. And currently, if you find a partner in their trough of disillusionment, I think that RPA and cognitive RPA stand a chance of going through that just like any other type of adoption, because people eagerly adopt without really taking a methodical approach. So Mike provides a really, I think, an excellent and practical approach to applying RPA, and even provides kind of this templated approach so that you can pattern match. You can identify those types of low-hanging fruit and processes, and then intelligently apply RPA to it. Because we're all pattern matchers. We look up at the stars, and we don't just see stars, but we see pictures. And when we're using cognitive RPA and RPA in general, it's really about pattern matching. You're identifying processes, documenting those processes as rote as possible, and encoding them. So I want to dig a little deeper into the origins of RPA, not to provide you an overall history, but to give you some of the context of where we've been and where we are now, and build upon what Mike provided. So if you think about this whole umbrella of AI or artificial intelligence, RPA is really founded on one of those earliest examples of what we call expert systems. So the expert system is a form of AI that just simply encodes knowledge of a subject matter expert, for a given task. So you encode those rules in a set of, if-then statements or case statements, and then you receive automation from it. So that's something that has been along the approach in computer science for many, many decades. And that is actually what is a bot. So the question about how many bots does it take, well, the answer is, well, define the workflow process, but you really want to have bots that are focused on operating specific tasks, and you may have one bot hands-off task to another bot. But the more known the task, the more rote the task, RPA has come a very, very useful way of automation. And our software does not really have what we consider, quote-unquote, intelligence built into it. So most bots, well, you're used to identify specific automation routine. I mentioned screen scraping as a way to get to data. Then you use rules that are pre-encoded, and they work really well on what we call structured processes that have happy paths as the most part, and just don't have a whole lot of exceptions. So they can't adapt really well to scenarios or learn from mistakes or those exceptions. So this is really the realm of AI referred to as machine learning. Machine learning can be more adaptive. The most rare application of machine learning for RPA is the advance of what we call learn by example. So in this case, in a bot configuration process, system could potentially monitor in the background any kind of data and then take that data and adapt to it. So it can take exceptions and then alter those rule sets so that the next time it encounters those specific situations, it can deal with them in an automated fashion. So many RPA deployments really lack the ability to dynamically adjust and adapt to these types of situations in what I call an online fashion. In essence, the application of machine learning to bot configuration is pretty sophisticated. So you can configure it and you don't have to do a lot of coding, but you've still got to do a lot of handling where the system can adapt. So building that, while many would view any kind of AI at the RPA as part of that initial configuration, I might suspect a big hidden benefit of RPA is that it casts off a lot of data, a data trail that can be used as part of this adaptation or learning process. And so let me talk more about machine learning and really what it's about. So hopefully after you get through this webinar, you'll have some more of those foundational knowledge to understand what real machine learning is from other types of systems. So be aware, many on this session might be aware of learning systems like, let's say, Google's image search function. Since you can get a picture of a cat, upload it, and Google image search will find other images of cats. And that doesn't happen by magic. It happens by having a system that has undergone a lot of training. And that training involves, in its most simplistic manner using cats, you need this learning system with two types of data, images with cats, and you tell the system that these images have cats, and images without cats. And you feed it enough information, and that system is going to learn the features of those images that help it discern between a cat and something without a cat. That's really the basic way machine learning operates. You have to feed it data. And RPA can provide a very similar data set. So take, for instance, a document-based workflow where traditionally people are entering in data. You would like to capture that data in an automated way, but sometimes you're going to have exceptions. And those exceptions have to be handled by someone. And the results of those exceptions can be fed back into a learning system so you can create this nice feedback loop. But documents, so when we're talking about cats, images of cats, it's quite a bit different from document-based data. So it's really critical to understand the nature of your data. When it comes to documents, there are essentially three common types. You might want two, but we can talk about three, at least in this case. So in the most simple, straightforward way, we have structured documents on your left. And so these are the forms-based data where locations are known. Forms to start most of business processes. I've heard data that says upward of 90% of business processes start with a form, and that's a good thing. They're typically the easiest to deal with, since you can tell an OCR system precisely where the data is that you need. So it's probably, in the level of adoption within RPA, the simplest thing to do. So look within your processes to find structured forms first. But next, we have on this continuum of complexity are semi-structured documents. Most of these are what I consider transactional documents, such as invoices or EOBs or remittances and what have you, where we're dealing with speeds and feeds on data that is common. So an invoice from one to another, you're looking for the same data, but the location of that data and the variance of how it's formatted can be quite significant. From a capture industry point of view and a document automation point of view, this is where a lot of activity has been over the past 10 to 15 years, trying to skin this problem, because it is a very complex problem to solve, especially when you need a very reliable way to locate and extract this information. And we need precision, and that measured in terms of accuracy, it can get pretty expensive pretty quickly. And then from the most complex part of documents, we call the unstructured document. Now, these documents where the information is mostly stored, the real needed information is stored in a narrative or more of like a prose type of format, like emails or contacts or correspondence of different types of natures, where the needed data, the data that you really must find, isn't always present, and it's definitely not located in the same place. So most of the time, the need is to locate things like concepts or terms within the body of the document. Mike mentioned technologies like natural language processing. Now, certainly those types of things, understanding a sentence and the ability to discern the concepts and the entities within it is a necessary prerequisite. And that represents probably the most difficult set of documents that you will have to process. And so those are going to involve a lot more complex rule sets and things like that. Next, okay, so overlaying doc types, what you see in front of you is a capability maturity model, if you will, for document automation. So it's really important to understand, because digital transformation projects don't just stop with simple convert paper into images, or dealing with only electronic variants of documents such as PDF or Word files. So just because you've bought a bunch of scanners and now you've got documents that are in image format and stored in a file system does not equate to digital transformation. It involves real stepwise adoption of capabilities, at automating the identification and extraction of key data. And this is regardless of document type, as well as automating the prerequisite tasks. So let me go through this really quickly, and hopefully this will give you an idea of how you can progress and identify work processes that are suitable to RPA and the relative complexity of them. So starting at stage one, and interestingly enough, we see this in the polls, but you can also look at the broader bases of these pyramids as the relative percentage of organizations that are still within these maturity levels. So stage one, in this case, documents are prepped, separated, scanned. The data is keyed in by people, and so this is a fully manual process. And believe it or not, like I said, a lot of organizations, I would even venture to say the majority of organizations deploy this at some level. When we do stage two, documents typically are still manually prepped, so you have those people sorting through them and entering separator pages. But we start to apply OCR to structured forms. Remember, those are the simple forms, the simplest type of documents to extract data, so that we can automate data extraction. This will leave other more complex documents that are still handled manually. So we've got forms and business forms that are going through in a more straight-through process, but things like invoices or fees or more complex data is still handled manually in a different work process. In stage three, we start to implement document classification and separation of those documents. So you're identifying document boundaries, the document types, so you can separate contracts from invoices, route them to the appropriate workflow process and departments. And these documents are automatically, the identification is handled automatically. So you can do away with the typical methods of separations, just use of barcodes if you have a document capture system, or separator pages that inform the system where those document boundaries are. When an organization reaches stage 4, we start to progress to handling automation of semi-structured documents, and most likely through a rules-based approach, not unlike a rules-based approach for RPA in general. So the approaches allow for identification of things like keywords and other techniques, these are often created manually or with some automation. So you might have a system that helps you where you can point at the data and it can help create these rules. And then the rules are then used to locate data such as things like patient name on an EOB or an invoice number on an invoice, and so on and so forth. The last stage, and frankly, as we continue through years and develop our experience, there may be more stages. But the last stage is currently defined as stage 5. All these steps are automated, not through explicit rules, though, but through machine learning. And through the use of real machine learning, that's not only significantly reduces the complexity of setup, because you're training a system, you're not creating user explicit rules for every single variant, but it also allows the system to adapt and improve with the ultimate objective of getting as close to 100% straight through processing as possible, and adapt through those data trails that are cast off by RPA systems. So the reality is that there is a lot of software out there that uses a wide variety of techniques, and not all of them are real machine learning. Where these techniques are used, there's plenty of variety of machine learning algorithms that bring with them different strengths and weaknesses. So it's really not good enough to just look for a vendor that uses the word machine learning. In fact, I saw an interesting graph in a magazine that you had 2 lines. It was the frequency of marketing using machine learning or AI usually resulted in the infrequency of them actually using those technologies. So there's an inverse relation, and I think that it's supposed to be funny, but in general, I think it's the truth. So you've got a number of different technologies and techniques within machine learning that are really complex, and it just further muddies the waters. Now, if you layer on top of this, so it's good to understand what those types of techniques are, even at a very high level. But then, layered on top of machine learning are these different modes, and the most common 3 modes are supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement. Now, supervised is where you provide information in a very interactive way. So you've got a person sitting with a system and telling it what it needs to know, and then develops the algorithms. Unsupervised is a set of capabilities where you don't tell the machine anything at all, and it tries to infer things such as logical groupings and likenesses and things like that. But there's a limitation to the unsupervised side. Where we see most benefit, especially within RPA, is this concept called reinforcement learning, where it can gradually learn from mistakes. So I've mentioned many times RPA can cast off these data trails. We can use these data trails combined with this reinforced learning model to not only help with the initial configuration, but create a truly adaptive system. So the fit is that you can apply these same techniques to document automation, and we will gradually see these types of systems reach the market, and some are already there. Move provide a use case, and Mike provides in different types of areas, like within insurance and things like that, and healthcare. I want to dig into a specific use case, and I think you mentioned an onboarding process where you have these major tasks that RPA is well suited to do, such as verifying that all documents are submitted, review data and importing it into a system of record, and then performing some of the additional checks such as know your customer. What you see in front of you is a high level of the major tasks involved with along with the description of where RPA is involved, and also the benefit of applying machine learning-based AI. So across the top, you see the activity, the description of that activity, where RPA really participates in the workflow, and the value of real machine learning-based AI. For instance, with the process of document identification, and every onboarding process needs to have, because you have all sorts of verification documents such as IDs, proof of address, proof of income, things like that. It can automate the receipt of documents from a specific customer, and then it can help orchestrate. So it orchestrates or coordinates all of the different types of processes of evaluating those documents, communication, and also with our operation with a classification engine. So with machine learning, you can automate identification of those documents, and it will either identify it or not. And so for those exceptions where the classification engine cannot identify the document, a manual verification step will be involved, and that results in a data trail that can be used to update the system. So it creates a really, really nice bulletproof feedback loop that when next time these types of documents are encountered, you don't have to have an exception, and that results in an increasing amount of data that goes straight through. Another version of the workflow that I described, but now it's in a diagrammatic format. So what we see here going left to right is this entire process that's automated through RPA, and you can see here in the little blue boxes where we add in the special secret ingredient of document-based automation with that machine learning concept. So we've got this whole process that initiates the creation of the account that adds it to the system of record. We move on for the request for supporting documents, which can be automated, and then the user submits those documents, which then we cascade through an automatic identification process that results in either a successful classification or that exception. And we get that feedback loop. And the same thing for data extraction. So the entire concept is using this machine learning to create these closed loop types of formats where we can learn, we can have that reinforced learning so that the next time it's encountered, we don't have to have those exceptions. Ultimately, that results in the performance curve going up to the right, close to 100% as possible. So, marketing is part of my title, so this is the obligatory who we are. So what we do, Parascript, is really all about automation through machine learning, which when applied to the RPA-based workflows like what I just illustrated and what Mike talked about, re-enable the straight-through processing that everybody is looking for. So imagine having a system that automatically configures itself and adapts to changing streams of documents, measuring and improving performance along the way, all with typical time and expensive professional services. Now, that is the objective that every document automation vendor is going for, and so that is our overriding objective as well. Now, as I mentioned, there are a number of different machine learning techniques and different types of adoption of AI in general. There are plenty of systems that really perform some level of automation, but they don't do a lot to reduce the upfront workload, let alone the ongoing configuration and optimization. So our approach is really to analyze documents in much the way that IBM Watson analyzes data through the concept of self-learning. One production, it collects background data from RPA systems or any other system you can throw at it, and it can use that information to continuously measure and improve. So that's the objective that we have, and that's software that we bring to the market. Ultimately, so what we call the Parascript Paradigm, which is providing the easiest to use configuring system to enable the most amount of data to flow straight through with as exceptions as possible. So we do that through a platform that provides a single workflow devoid of what documents you have. It can handle, a single workflow can handle structured information all the way to unstructured, and it can handle text all the way to handwriting. And we enable all that because underneath everything is a number of actually 25 to 30 years of experience with these advanced machine learning concepts. So with that, I'll throw it back over to Dawn, who has the last poll question.
We have a couple questions coming in also. So document automation poll question number 3, I'll open in the lower right-hand corner of your screen in just a moment. And document automation system has machine learning capabilities, and do you use it? A, yes, but I don't use it. B, yes, I use it and it works well. C, yes, I use it, but it doesn't quite meet my needs. D, yes, I use it, but it doesn't meet my needs. No. And E, no, it doesn't have machine learning capabilities. And we'll keep them for just a minute. Questions that came in, I think, is interesting. It was, you know, testing and exploring new technologies is an expensive proposition. Is there a way that Parascript can work with people to reduce the cost of having to train and prototype and get proof of concepts and things like that underway?
So parcel with an adaptive system is the ability to prime it with that data. So our objective is to actually present a system that you don't need to understand how it works. You provide it with example data, and it configures itself. So the latest release that we announced last week employs a lot of those technologies. Frankly, I think it's a pretty sea change in terms of document automation, especially when it comes to configuration. So the approach that we take, where we receive the sample data, we can ship you the software and you can use it, is a fairly straightforward approach. Feed it with the data, and you can see results. So you can go through an evaluation process and see what real world performance would be. I mean, we're measuring it in days, not weeks anymore.
Okay, that's great to know. So the answer here, yes, at 20%. Yes, we use it and it works well. 12%, a little bit use it, but it doesn't quite meet my needs. And 56%, no, it doesn't have machine learning capabilities. Are you surprised by this?
No, I'm not. Even though if you go back and do some history of document automation, history has used the word training and learning for a long time. It's often not been implemented because it doesn't meet expectations. It's kind of the classic adoption of technology, this life cycle. So it doesn't surprise me at all. But the cool thing is you know, if Google and other companies can create a self-driving car, we should be able to provide software that learns about your documents.
True.
Mm-hmm.
True. Okay, so the one question, evaluating technology, error management, you already answered that one. So another question, it says, when considering RPA implementation, is it best to look for document processes that can be 100% automated, or should we be looking at a hybrid of human-assisted RPA? What's your recommendation there?
Well, my is, you know, kind of takes us back to, you know, our experiences with OCR technology. And OCR technology has gotten better and better across the years, but it originally started out and sometimes you would get, you know, 50–60% OCR accuracy. But that potentially could augment, you know, the workflow and augment the work processes. And so some of these technologies in terms of machine learning and that may be able to get us some way there and maybe be able to do, you know, 60, 70, 80% of the lifting, but may not get all the way there, but they still potentially could be worthwhile depending on the particular project. That's fine.
Okay, sure. So what we're doing now is we're going to push the slide back, and folks, keep your questions coming. We'll make sure to pass them on to our presenters. So I'm going to go to the last slide. There's some information. We also will be sending out the contact information for both Mike and for Greg tomorrow, and they'll be coming from Destiny. But in the meantime, what I'd like to do is you'll see a gray box in the middle of your screen. If you click that, you can download the slide deck to your desktop. And oh, there it is. And also, the webinar is housed for download and replay, so you can get the audio and the visual for the next few years. And all you have to do is share the link far and wide that Destiny sends you tomorrow, or you can log into the SIG Resource Center, where you can access all of our past webinars. So a lot of people go back and they go, oh, I really want to share it. I want to watch it again with some folks. I want to share it with them around my company. So please just be aware that you can share it and other people can watch it along with you. And with that, top of the hour, and we don't have time for any more questions, but I can't thank you enough, Mike and Greg. It was a fantastic webinar. It's a fantastic subject. I love RPA. I am so excited about the future of it. And you guys you brought it down to earth and just, it was fantastic. So thank you very much for bringing us this webinar.
Thank
you. Thank you, guys. And with that, I hope to see you on our next webinar series again next week. So please join us, log in, come often. This is a way to learn at your desk. And with that, we're going to say goodbye to everybody and have a great day. Bye-bye.